Hey there friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to have the July 1st garden tour. In the background you can see my small garden. It's only about 30 by 30, but it shows how much can be grown in a relatively small space. I've got 30 plus varieties right now. I've gone several harvests. Yesterday alone I've harvested 8 vegetables, and 90% of what I ate yesterday came from the garden, and I'm excited to show you how much has grown in the past few weeks. So we're going to start the tour on this side of the garden where we have sugar snap peas, snow peas. They've been doing pretty good. I've been having a couple of peas every day, nothing crazy, and I know last time you all saw these, I was intending on hugging them with string, wrapping them around these two posts here to provide support and kind of keep them under control. They're not out of control yet. They seem to be really consolidated and not really messy at all. So I may just not do that. I do have a little bit of damage to this plant furthest from me here. I'm not quite sure why that one's damaged and none else are. It could be a disease, it could be a lack of water in that area. I'm not really sure, but I'm not worried about it. Everything is looking just fine. I'm getting snow peas, a couple every single day, and I suspect that these will keep growing happy and healthy for quite a few weeks. Now on this side, I do have a couple of problems as well. As you can see on these leaves, I have some sort of disease. Maybe it's a leaf spot disease on my cucumbers. It is progressing. They're getting worse by the day. So what I'll probably do is really defoliate, cut these back and get them out of here before they spread the disease onto other plants, which I think has already begun. I'm training these plants simply by wrapping them up this lead wire, and then as the plant grows, I'm cutting the bottom. These 4 plants were planted at different times. These had a head start, and these I direct sowed right in the ground. All right, on this end of the bed are some very healthy tomatoes. I'm growing and training these up the same lead wire like I'm doing with the cucumbers, and so far I'm happy with them. I'm seeing some beautiful purple tomatoes growing in now. I'm not sure when they'll be ready for harvest. I have to look that up. Maybe when I don't know. I'm not sure. Couldn't even help you. I didn't do my research there. These other tomatoes, this is a variety called Aruga, or Aruga, not arugula, something like that. I was expecting them to be small cherry tomatoes, but they're actually, I'd say they're medium sized. They're looking very healthy. This whole plant, the same ones on this side too, they're looking very good plants. I'm not seeing any diseases. A little bit of leaf curl I notice in the mornings, and then later in the evenings. Maybe it's a defense mechanism for the cooler temperatures. You can see some of the leaf curl here. I'm not concerned about these at all. If anything, I'm concerned about the cucumbers, but I don't think it's a big deal. All right, we're gonna flip direction here, and this is the newest bed of carrots that I've planted. The other carrots I've completely harvested, and I'll show where they were, what bed they were in, and I had some good yields with that. There's some weeds here and there, but more so than not, this garden has been kept pretty clean. Not a lot of work. I only do maybe 10 minutes of weeding a day, if that. It's very easy to maintain. This is, for the most part, this is the no-till side of the garden, where I just laid compost down and planted directly into it. These 2 types of carrots, the same ones planted earlier in the year, I talked about in earlier videos. We have the black pusa carrots from Rare Seeds, as well as Mokum F1 variety from Johnny's Seed. They produce like really thin pencil-like carrots that are really sweet, an early variety, but planting them in the main season anyway. The purple carrots didn't do so well. Out of the 50 that I planted, I had about 4 mature into kinda edible carrots. We'll see how these do. Hopefully, in the heat of the summer, they'll do better and perform better and grow and mature what you'd expect. If not, I'm sort of gonna give up on the variety. I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna try to grow for seed next year by taking the 4 that actually produced a root and trying to grow those out in flower amongst them. Maybe I'll kind of get a better carrot for my climate. But that might take a while, and who knows about its success. But these so far have been very successful. The growth is strong, they're healthy, and I think in just a few weeks I'll start to be harvesting baby carrots. So here we are at the my bay of peppers here. Last week I made a video on how to make these pepper cages. They were remarkably simple and cheap, especially compared to typical tomato cages some people will use for their peppers. It probably took me 20 minutes, and I made a video to make all 5 of these cages. It was very easy, and it looks like it's going to be effective too. In this climate, I'm very fortunate that peppers do well, and they'll get very large. They'll fill out these cages with no problem. And the downside of having large pepper plants is the stems get weak, especially if there's a storm, if there's who knows, sometimes the weight of the peppers can get a little too aggressive for the stems. So these cages will provide a lot of support to those stems, and even if there is a breakage, they'll still most likely have enough stability within them to maintain those peppers and grow strong. So if you want to check out that video, I highly recommend supporting your peppers. You work hard for them. The last thing you want is for a storm to split your pepper plant in half. I haven't pruned these peppers in any way. They're just growing, and I'm letting them grow. The downside to these pepper cages is that it's hard to get the weeds. Now, all right, here we go. Maybe it's not that bad. I've never tried just sticking my hand inside those grates, but it worked just fine. I fully take that back. Weeding will be a breeze from here on out. I'm going to take a brief second as we transition to this part of the garden. If you've found this useful so far, if you want to help support my channel and what I do here on YouTube, trying to get 1,000 subscribers, hit the subscribe button. Press like and comment if you like this, because it really helps. It's free and lets me know that this is helping people. So let's get back into it. On this side of the peppers, we've got beets. These are beets that were sown 3 or 4 seeds per cell, and then transplanted out just as they grow. So in some of these locations, there's 3, 4, 2, sometimes just 1 beet. And what will happen is one will really take the bulk of the growing, and you harvest that one first. I like to harvest them when they're a little bit smaller than a baseball, or baseball size is fine too. And once the biggest one is harvested, that gives room for the others to catch up. So you can extend the harvest season of your beets. Now, when these beets are done, I should have more beets to be transplanted here in the garden. I sowed about 16 to 20 more clumps of beets into cells and trays that I have in the house. Right next to it, next to me, are my beautiful celery plants. These are doing extraordinarily well. They're about half the size. The stalks are half the size that you're familiar seeing in the supermarket. So maybe they're halfway there. Maybe they're just a couple of weeks away. For some of these, I'm gonna try just harvesting a few stalks at a time as I need them. And then others, I'll just cut them at the base, make a stalk, or who knows, what have you. The thing I'm seeing with these is that the weeds, they hide very well in here. They just disguise themselves. But it's not overwhelming. I see just a few, just a handful, and they're in no way drowning out the celery. They're very small, weak, frail little things. See that thing? I think that's pigweed. Am I still in frame? I am still in frame. So I'll just skirt over here. And on this side, you can see these are my broccoli. Broccoli did not do well for me in the beginning of the year. None of my brassicas did. They got ravaged. Absolutely cannibalized. Not cannibalized, they didn't eat themselves. They were eaten by maggots, cabbage root fly. And now I'm getting some pest damage in the leaves, but it's nothing concerning. That happens. I mean, it's not like a wave of caterpillars came by and destroyed everything. Here is an example of not harvesting when you should. I went on a 4-day trip to North Carolina, and I've never grown broccoli before, so I wasn't quite sure. In hindsight, I should have harvested it, but I let it go because it was smaller than what I was expecting from a broccoli plant. So I left that to show you what it's like. I'm going to be pulling that out of the ground soon. I may save it for seed. After this video, or even in the process of making this video, I'm gonna have to investigate whether this was an F1 variety and if broccoli can self-pollinate. If you know, leave it in the comments below. On the furthest side here, I have purple sprouting broccoli. I just put those in a few weeks ago, and that's going to be for harvesting in the spring. So these are really just getting started. All right, now carrying on to this side, we have basil that's beginning to flower. I've pinched off a few of the tops, and that can be helpful in preventing the whole plant from flowering. It'll slow it down, not prevent it totally, but it'll give you and extend the harvest of your basil, which this has been doing fantastically well. One thing that I'm doing is you'll notice my squash plants are getting out of control. So what I need to do this later on today, is I'll just cut them back. You know, as they start encroaching on other beds, I trim them. Now here, in this mess, we've got two plants of acorn squash that I bought at the store, and I'm seeing now and noticing that I should have checked, because there is some oddly shaped acorn squash in here, as you can see. I mean, maybe it's a spaghetti squash. I'm not even sure if a seed got misplaced. I have no idea. I'm letting them grow out to see what happens and see what I get, really. It could turn out to be a delicious crop. As you can see as well, we have corn starting to push its way through. I did make a mistake here. I should have planted the corn a few weeks before the squash to give the corn a head start. Because right now it is kind of struggling to pull itself out from the canopy of this squash. It is doing it, it's working, but it's just taking a little bit longer. And frankly, some of the corn won't make it. It's just shaded out and very small. All right, here we simply have some flowering plants. These are spring onions that I'm going to let seed out and plant for spring. I believe I have enough plants here for genetic diversity and to give me a healthy crop of seed, but we'll see if I don't. Down here I have thyme that's beginning to flower, as well as cilantro. Now this is the bed that had all of the carrots. As you can see, I've harvested most of them. There's a few here. These are the black carrots that I'm just experimenting with and really just letting them grow out and mature here. I've replaced them with a few Asian greens. I don't remember what variety this is. It's my first time growing it, but I'll make sure to leave it down in the bottom of the video. Next to it, I have a whole 2 rows of red Russian kale. So there's quite a bit here. I'm gonna be eating a lot of kale. I also have mustard greens. These are one of my favorites. They have got a buttery wasabi kind of flavor. A really nice addition to my salads. All right, we've got some parsley. Down here is a few different types of lettuce. These are my favorite. This is Salanova. As you can see, they're starting to flower. They're going to grow into points. Some more parsley. These are a free variety of lettuce that was given to me by Rare Seeds as I placed my order. They're a great company like that. They'll give you free seeds, and for a vast majority of the seeds that I get from them, I'm very pleased with the turnout. Some vegetables, like the black carrots, they're just not good for your climate, and you'll have to test which ones those are. And maybe for me, I'll learn that I just planted at the wrong time of the year. There's a lot of variables with gardening, so you really need to learn your land and the crops that grow best there, and harvesting your seed, because the crops that do best likely will adapt to your climate, and if you keep taking seeds, they'll get better and better accustomed to where you live. And now, really wrapping it up here, we've got a trial of some radishes and turnips that I planted, frankly, quite late in the year. And I did this because I wanted that really wasabi, that bitter flavor that you get from radishes that are put to grow in the heat. And I'm just experimenting to see how it does. And the turnips, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'll definitely be planting those later in the summer, early fall. Now, I did quite a bit of harvesting yesterday. I harvested all of the garlic. That's where the camera is right now. That the garlic bed was there. I've pulled all of those out and peeled back the skin and hung them up. I actually have one that I can show. Here's the garlic that I harvested. This is one of the larger bulbs, excuse me. And this is a really moderate, average size that I was able to harvest. So what I did here is I just took this outer layer of skin. It's actually a little tougher now. It's a little bit more papery, is that a word? Than it was yesterday. And I just peel that back, and that cleans it up a little bit. Yeah, I should have done this yesterday. It's a lot harder. So when you do it, if you want to clean up your bulbs before storing them, you just peel back that first layer of skin, and it comes right out. And I also cut this with a pair of kitchen shears too. And then I hung them up. Beautiful garlic. As you can see, I probably could have gone another couple of days, maybe a week, but I'm content with pulling those out. I'm very happy with those garlic bulbs. I did it again. So we'll just leave those here for now. I'll come pick those up. I've got them hang drying, curing. And over here, I've got my kale. These are a curly leafed kale. I did an experiment by placing 2 kale within the garlic, if you remember that from last week, to see how it would affect the growth there as opposed to when they had more space. And it does look like pests got to these a little bit more. They're also a little bit smaller, but that seems obvious to me, right? They were planted amongst garlic, which really had the real estate taken over. But now with the garlic removed, I bet they'll catch up. I also harvested potatoes yesterday, and I wasn't impressed overall. Maybe I harvested too early. They do still look a bit green, but they're the plants are starting to fall over, and they're starting to get a little bit pale. They're produced fruit. So I tried giving it a harvest. Maybe the potatoes buried themselves a little further in. I did fork this bed, so maybe that's the reason. Whatever the case, I'm gonna give these another couple of weeks. I'm gonna give them till they really turn yellow. Not for them to die back completely, but for them to get really pale, and then I'm gonna bring those up. For this bed where the garlic was, I'm going to do an experiment, and I'm going to plant some of the early potatoes that I bought at a farmer's market, and I'm going to sow those now. Hopefully, they'll give me a small harvest by the time November or December rolls around, and I'll be able to keep those potatoes over winter and then plant them in March. Well, that's the goal. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm happy to try it out. So that concludes, oh no, wait. So I do want to show you real quick, we're not going to walk over there, but here's a video that I took earlier of my sweet potato patch. I've never grown sweet potatoes, and these are a purple variety that I'm also excited to try. I saw them on a Netflix show called The Blue Zone. It's an Okinawan purple potato. I have never grown sweet potatoes before. I don't know how big they're supposed to be at this point, but I really just put cardboard over a lawn, dumped some compost over the cardboard, and planted the slips there. They seem healthy to me, but they don't seem very vigorous. They're not growing very quickly, and we'll see. I don't know how well they'll do. Okinawa is like a jungle type climate, so very different from what we've got here. I've also got a random pumpkin patch that I planted just to see how it would do. It was by the shed. I did no prep whatsoever. There's no compost. I just put seeds in the ground within the lawn and to see what happens, and they seem to be doing okay. The leaves aren't super green. They don't look super healthy and strong, but it doesn't look weak either. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you found this useful, entertaining, and hope you got something from it. Hopefully you'll stop by in the comments, and have a great one.